Hey guys, so today we are covering part 2 of Robert Devine's decertification hearing. Robert Devine is a former police officer from Stoughton Police Department. He's involved in the Sandra Birchmore case. And this decertification is being done by the Massachusetts Post Commission. They're in charge of overseeing all of that. And if he is decertified, what's going to happen is he will no longer be able to be in law enforcement in Massachusetts, and he'll also be included on a national list. So my guess from there is that if future law enforcement organizations in different states want to hire him, they will look at that national list and see that he was decertified in Massachusetts. So in this specific part of the hearing, we'll be going over Brian Holmes' testimony. The testimony does not finish, so he's going to be coming back. Quick recap, I guess, on who Brian Holmes is. He is the former deputy chief for the Stoughton Police Department. He now works in another police department in another county, so no longer Stoughton. Just to discuss the relationship with Robert Devine, because this is essential and core to this entire testimony, is the fact that there is allegedly tension between Robert Devine and Brian Holmes. Specifically, Robert Devine was actually chief or deputy chief before Brian Holmes was. There was a 2015 incident and investigation, I talk about that in my other videos, into Robert Devine, and he got demoted to patrol. Then about a year passed and Brian Holmes was put in Robert Devine's own old position as the deputy chief. So there is a little argumentably tension there. At least that's what the defense attorney is trying to say. That's a little background on Brian Holmes. He also, once he was deputy chief, he was head of all internal investigations or internal affairs investigations. So that means that he was in charge of the 2021 investigation related to Sandra Birchmore and the fact that Robert Devine was accused of having sex with Birchmore while he was on duty. So again, like I said, the defense attorney is really trying to hone in on this idea that there is potentially some bias from Brian Holmes and therefore is tainting or has tainted the entire 2021 investigation. So without further ado, actually one more thing. I want to have a shout out or give a shout out to the trial channel. They made it possible to watch this entire hearing. They cut out a lot of the noise. They made the audio a little bit better. I also want to say that I cut out about an hour of this hearing or this portion of the hearing, this testimony, because there was an hour of just debate over certain information and exhibits. I will discuss what that debate was in the recap that's coming out after this video, but I just didn't think there's any reason to sit there and watch it for an entire hour. It is relatively boring. I watched it myself. I kind of fell asleep. No, I didn't. Just joking. But anyways, without further ado, let's get started.
All right. Would you say your name, please? Brian Holmes. Right. Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings. I do. Thank you, ma'am. See? Thank you.
About the protective order?
Yeah.
Yes. Ms. Holmes, are you aware that there was protective orders that have been issued in this case?
No.
There are. And it's incumbent upon you, and I'm going to make sure that before you leave here today, that you have copies of them. You can show them, Mr. Martinez.
I can email
Right.
afterwards.
Because you need to abide by those. And that is that you not communicate or disseminate any information relative to this case to the public or anybody else. Unless you're required to appear and testify. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Martinez.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Before we get started, just as an initial matter, if I refer to an individual by the initials SB, do you know who I'm referring to?
Yes.
And when you testify, we ask that you use her initials rather than her full name.
Okay.
What's your current position?
Chief of Police, Town of Kingston.
How long have you been with Kingston?
For 14 months.
Have you been the chief the entire time?
Yes.
Prior to working in Kingston, where did you work?
Town of Stoughton Police Department.
How long were you with the Stoughton Police Department?
It was like 27, 28 years, something like that.
Did you begin at the Stoughton Police Department after you graduated from the academy?
No, I began before as a dispatcher.
When did you attend the academy?
1999.
How long were you a dispatcher before that?
2 years.
After you attended the academy, what rank did you enter?
Patrol officer.
What was your highest rank at the Stoughton Police Department?
Deputy chief.
When did you achieve that?
It was, I think it was 2017.
Okay, so that is the position that Robert Devine had, and that's why I say there was a good amount of time in between when he was appointed that position and when Robert Devine stepped down or was demoted, because he was demoted in, I believe, 2015 or 2016, because the incident and the investigation was 2015, and him being demoted was the result of that investigation. So again, there was a good amount of time. It's not like Robert Devine, was demoted, then Holmes just immediately stepped in. And again, I think it's important to note that because the defense is trying to really pose this relationship between Devine and Holmes as a bitter one or problematic, tension, bias, all of that. And maybe there would be more credence towards that if, Holmes took that position immediately, but he didn't. Now, they will go into other incidences where there was some tension between the two and all of that. So there are obviously other things for the defense attorney to target, but I just wanted to point that one out because it is important to know.
So for approximately how long were you the deputy chief?
About 7 years.
Who preceded you as deputy chief?
Robert Devine.
Was there a vacancy before you took the role?
Yes.
For approximately how long?
I want to say at least a year.
Other than deputy chief and patrol officer, did you hold any other positions at the Stoughton Police Department?
Yes.
What ranks or roles were those?
As a patrol officer, I was a dog handler. I was promoted to sergeant in 2013. Took on mainly administrative roles, but I was still on the street as a patrol supervisor.
When you were the deputy chief of the Stoughton Police Department, did you conduct internal affairs investigations?
Yes.
And was that the entire time you were deputy chief that you were also conducting those investigations?
Yes.
Any idea on approximate number per year that you conducted?
1 year that was really heavy. I want to say it was 2019. A lot of infighting. I think I did 14 of them in a 12-month period. Other than that, the average is probably 6 that I handled directly per year, and some would be delegated out to lower ranks.
What factors led into you delegating out internal affairs investigations?
Some of it would be my own workload. Others, like lower level type internal affairs cases would be handled by a lieutenant, in some cases, a sergeant.
So is it fair to say that you would handle the more serious investigations?
Yes.
Do you know Robert Devine?
Yes.
And how are you know him?
We met at the police academy and we became friends somewhere around 1999.
Well, after following the police academy, what was your personal relationship with Mr. Devine like?
It was highs and lows. I mean, it was, we were good friends for a long time. There was times that I created distance deliberately because of some things that have been going on. And I made the personal choice to, not really have him as friends. And then it became a superior subordinate type relationship where I was just managing an employee.
And when did that superior subordinate relationship begin?
After I got promoted to deputy chief.
Prior to your promotion to deputy chief, outside of the professional world, did you see Mr. Devine socially?
Yes.
And in what types of circumstances?
In the beginning, it was a friendship. It was, family events, birthdays, weddings, different things like that.
Do you have an approximate time to when that social side of the relationship ended?
I'd say probably like 2011, around there. Things got a little bit challenging at times.
So I find this really interesting that their social relationship deteriorated around 2011 because the internal investigation was 2015. And so initially during this hearing, when the defense attorney was questioning McNamara, he was really pointing out to the dissolution of that relationship as being related to the 2015 incident. That's really what it seemed like based on how he was framing it. But according to Holmes here, it seems that social relationship ended in 2011. So again, it's not necessarily related to that initial or that first investigation and him being demoted and then later Holmes taking his position. It occurred prior. And I wonder what happened that made him take a step back from that relationship. But I think that's just kind of new, interesting information to take note of in this case.
Were there ever any conflicts in the workplace?
Yes.
And can you briefly go through those conflicts?
Sure. There was a conference that we went to, and he had asked me for feedback on things that might not be going so well. So I took him up on it, had lunch with him, and told him about some things that were kind of lending towards arrogance. There was a former member of the Explorers that had been getting way too cozy. So he and another member of the department had raised the concern and said, you got to be careful. There was a matter involving him being a cooperating witness for the defense of a guy from the department that had been indicted and tried and convicted. I took sort of a objection to the fact that he did 180 degrees and bailed on being a witness on behalf of the defense. There was hard feelings over it, and it really wasn't a question of right and wrong. It was more a question of moral principle. Just like every once in a while, you get into it. At the point in time, he had transitioned from lieutenant to deputy chief, and the relationship for that time was, superior subordinate at times as well. So, just like regular disagreements now and again.
As to the former police explorer you were speaking about, is that somebody other than SB?
It is.
And was that person an adult at the time?
Yes.
So that's really, really interesting because I skimmed the investigation report, the internal affairs report, and I'm considering going through that with you guys, maybe on a live session. Let me know if you're interested in that. But as I was skimming, I did notice that there was another explorer that mentioned having a big crush on Devine and writing him a letter, professing her interest in him and all of that. And so I'm wondering if that's who they're talking to right now. They do mention that explorer was an adult. I'm very curious as to what they mean by adult. Do they mean 18 or 16? Because in the state of Massachusetts, the age of consent is 16, not 18. And so my guess is they're thinking 18 because I don't think Massachusetts sees 16-year-olds as adult per se, but more that they can give consent to sex, whereas 18 is actual adult. But then I'm wondering why an explorer is an adult, and in that program, maybe an 18-year-old senior or something like that. Nonetheless, it's an inappropriate relationship because he is in a position of authority, and that just should not be abused. He also was married, and I don't know if he's still married, but he was married at the time. So I think that's big for us to take note of, that this is potentially a pattern. Now, the other thing that he's mentioning is the fact that he essentially did a 180 and backed out of, I think working on a case in someone's defense or cooperating in the defense for somebody. And it doesn't seem that Holmes is a big fan of him doing that 180 or bailing on that. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate what they just discussed and kind of summarize it.
Do you have an approximate time frame for that? And what about Mr. Devine serving as a witness for the indicted officer? When was that?
So he was a witness, and I want to say in 2004. The sergeant ended up getting a second trial, and I think he got a second trial in maybe 2009, somewhere around there. At the time, there was a new chief coming in, so that probably had a factor in on his decision to not be a defense witness. I think that was the time frame. I could be off.
Objection, motion to strike. He's offering my client state of mind.
I don't think I understood the answer to be that.
Okay.
So, but I am going to ask you, Chief, to keep your voice up.
Oh, I apologize. No problem.
Were there any other conflicts that you remember?
No, not really, no.
After you became deputy chief, was there any point at which the relationship was mended?
To the degree that he was a subordinate, his father had passed away. I just felt like he was really down in the dumps, and I had extended an olive branch, had a quick conversation with him about loss. I struggled with the loss of my father, and I know that he probably was feeling the same thing. So I felt it was an opportunity to extend an olive branch.
From your perspective, did he accept it?
He did.
So that's definitely important to note because that was in 2017, 2018. That means it was after the 2015 incident, but it's before the 2021 investigation. So again, trying to essentially show that he was not biased when performing this investigation, that they had remedied their potential tension, that Devine accepted the olive branch and all of that.
And approximately what year did that occur?
I don't know, 2017 or 18. I'm not really sure.
Your knowledge was that Mr. Devine demoted in 2015.
It was either 15 or 16, yes.
And what was his rank at the time he was demoted?
He was deputy chief of police, but he had civil service rank as a lieutenant.
And what was he demoted to?
Patrol officer.
Was there an internal affairs investigation to your knowledge that took place?
Yes.
Were you any part of that internal affairs investigation?
No.
Do you know what rank you were in 2015, 2016?
Yes, I was sergeant.
So at that time, Mr. Devine still ranked you?
Yes.
And typically, is it the policy that you're not involved in internal affairs investigations for people who outrank you?
I mean, typically, unless you're a witness to the event.
Now, despite your personal relationship, do you believe that you held out any biases against Mr. Devine in the workplace?
I do.
Objection.
Oh, sorry.
So that was like a total slip right there. They're going to explain in a second, but it kind of makes me laugh that the attorney asked, "Did you hold out any bias?" And he goes, "Yes, I did."
So that was wrong.
And do you want to roll on the objection?
No, it's withdrawal. Those are the easy ones to rule.
And the attorney's like, "Do you want to rule on the objection? Like, please." Because the defense attorney objects and it's like, wait, maybe not objection. He just admitted that he was biased, but it was just a mistake. It's kind of funny.
And what was that bias?
I didn't have any bias against him. Maybe I misunderstood your question. I don't think I had any bias against him. So I apologize if I misunderstood the question.
Sorry. Okay. So just to be clear, do you believe that you held any bias toward him in the workplace?
No.
And that's despite any personal differences, correct?
Yes.
Now, in February of 2021, did you come to learn that the individual SB was found dead in her apartment?
Yes.
Do you know the date of that?
This is early February, I believe.
And that's 2021?
Yes.
How did you find out that information?
Chief McNamara and I ended up on a three-way phone call with Lieutenant Fanning from the Mass State Police. Some information had made it back to the department through Detective Shanna Isabel. She had, some sort of a relationship with SB, and she was trying to help her. So I believe she was aware of it, but the chief and I got the official notification from Lieutenant Fanning by way of a three-way phone call.
Did you know SB personally?
No, I knew her from around town.
What are the circumstances where you would have seen her around town?
She worked at the Dunkin' Donuts that I stopped at. She'd go to public events. She would always go out of her way to greet and be polite to officers and public safety in uniform.
After her death, did there come a time when there were allegations of an officer's misconduct within the Stoughton Police Department related to SB?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
There was another phone call from Lieutenant Fanning, giving the chief and I an update on the circumstances and explaining he was doing a criminal investigation.
Which officer was that?
Lieutenant John Fanning.
Which officer had the allegations of misconduct?
At that time, Lieutenant Fanning made us aware from the information that he had that there was a relationship between SB and Matt Farwell.
How early on in the investigation did you learn about the potential relationship between SB and Matthew Farwell?
Within weeks.
So just knowledge, my personal knowledge about this case, apparently when Sandra was still alive, a friend of hers contacted the Stoughton Police Department and told somebody in the department that she was engaged in a sexual relationship with an individual in that department. I don't know if they named Matthew Farwell at that point in time, but according to documents that were put forth as evidence on the side of the prosecutors, they showed that there was definitely a tiff between Sandra and Matthew Farwell as a result of the fact that somebody called Stoughton. And so I'm not necessarily surprised that they found out within a couple of weeks, because I'm sure that whoever was notified probably told a higher up about this. But again, a lot of this is alleged, or it was put forth by the prosecutors in one of their motions. I believe it was specifically the motion, the detention motion. But yeah, I just wanted to add that for additional clarity on the matter.
What did Stoughton Police Department do as a result?
So the chief and I had some meetings with the town manager, town council. We opened up a case file. The chief directed I begin in internal affairs alongside the work of the Mass State Police. Went into IMC, which is our computer database, and we locked out everybody to access the records to SB. And the only ones that had access to the records was myself and the chief. Printed off a hard copy of everything that we had in the database for her, and then it was just sort of a holding pattern until we heard back from the Mass State Police.
How soon after you found out about the alleged misconduct did you let Matthew Farwell know about the allegations?
I think it was when we found information that implicated him. We put him on paid administrative leave after an extensive discussion with the town manager and town council.
Were you assigned to the internal affairs investigation?
Yes.
Was anyone else from the Stoughton Police Department involved in the investigation?
No.
What was Chief McNamara's role?
So in the organizational structure and policy, the chief is the decision maker for the investigative work that I do. I would make recommendations to the chief on any IA. The chief would receive sometimes daily, but by policy every 7 days, an update of in some form or another about what was going on with the case.
Did you maintain that system throughout the internal affairs investigation?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that it lasted well over a year?
Yes.
Was the related Massachusetts State Police investigation around SB's death part of the reason for the delay?
Yes.
Were there any other reasons for the investigation taking so long?
I mean, I knew that according to the information I was receiving from Lieutenant Fanning, they were having difficulty breaking into the cell phone. The data that we had was only from a laptop sync.
Do you know where that laptop was recovered?
I believe it was recovered in her apartment and held by the Mass State Police.
Did you ever take custody of that laptop?
I did.
And did you ever receive the data download from that laptop?
I did, a partial one, yes.
From who did you receive that download?
Lieutenant Fanning.
Were her cell phones ever cracked?
Yes.
And what does it mean to crack a cell phone?
Apple iPhone is high with security, and they use an algorithm program called Gray Key to break through to get the pin broken so that they can actually access the phone and download everything into Cellbrite.
Did the state police ever provide you with data from her cell phone?
Yes.
Was the data from her cell phone and laptop incorporated into the internal affairs investigation?
Yes.
When we're discussing volume of evidence, how much are we talking for this investigation?
Tens of thousands of pages.
What do those pages consist of?
Calendar information, text messaging, contacts, emails, photographs, videos, just everything that you would have in your cell phone, only in Cellbrite, data format.
For how long was the investigation solely focused on Matthew Farwell?
In the beginning, it was, and then we learned of contact with other members of the department or former members of the department as well. I'd say that was probably about late spring, early summer that it materialized into other people.
And is that still in 2021?
Yes.
Who are the other officers that ended up being involved in the misconduct allegations?
It was Billy Farwell, Matt's twin brother, Josh Heel, the former animal control officer that later became an Abington officer. There's a couple officers that we had as witnesses, but not that were implicated. And a member of the military that was implicated, that was referred back to them. And I think that's it.
Was Mr. Devine ever the subject of the IA?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did a little research on Josh Heel because I had not heard that name prior to this hearing. And here are the details. He is an ex-cop accused of having a sexual encounter with Sandra Birchmore and then lying about it. And he will never again work in law enforcement in the state, according to a September 25th decision from the Massachusetts Post Commission. He was a former Stoughton animal control officer, Joshua Heel. He entered into a voluntary agreement with the commission, the agency responsible for certifying law enforcement officers in the state, to effectively let his Massachusetts license, which had expired in July, to stay expired. So just some details on who that individual is. There's not a ton about him, but yeah, like I said, that was the first time I heard that name, so I wanted to look it up so that you guys could get an answer to who that is.
Yes.
When Mr. Devine became a subject of the internal affairs investigation, did you consider recusing yourself?
Effectively, I did, to the degree that I did not interview him, but I had to have a role in what was happening with the case.
Who interviewed him?
Retired Captain Paul Littleine, and I believe he had with him retired Lieutenant Bob Fries.
Were these other investigators independent of the Stoughton Police Department?
Yes.
How many investigators did you have other than yourself?
3.
And were they all former state police?
Yes.
Now, you stated that you did not participate in the interview of Devine, is that correct?
Yes.
And why not?
I mean, I figured that, if there was something that resulted in him being implicated in any way, that he was going to claim some sort of bias or personal grudge on my part.
During the investigation, did you personally interview either William Farwell or Matthew Farwell?
No.
At the conclusion of your investigation,
I wonder why he didn't interview William or Matthew either. And I wonder who he did interview. Because he essentially said he effectively recused himself by not interviewing Devine. Okay, why not the Farwell brothers? Was that just happenstance, or was there something going on with that as well? And if he didn't interview anyone, then how can you argue that not interviewing someone is recusing yourself if you just didn't interview anyone? I don't know. I really wish I understood the details. These are just my thoughts and questions in my brain that pop up, and I figured I'd share them with you guys.
Investigation, were either of the Farwell brothers or Mr. Devine still employed at the Stoughton Police Department?
No.
And what happened?
So Rob Devine ended up retiring when a second interview was being scheduled. Billy Farwell had been on military orders and he was already aware that he was going to be a witness, but he was, in my opinion, he was delaying or dodging having to sit for an interview. And Matthew Farwell, under the advice of his attorney, ended up resigning.
And did Mr. Devine retire?
He did.
How close to the end of the investigation did he retire?
It's a 19-month investigation that began in February of 21. So, excuse me, I think it was sometime in 2022.
Was a large part of the investigation the review of digital evidence?
Yes.
And why is it?
It was really all we had to go on, other than witness testimony and anything that would have been reported or called in by any of SB's friends. The data was the heart of the case.
And part of the data, as you stated earlier, was her SB's personal correspondence.
Yes.
Was there correspondence between SB and Matthew Farwell on the devices?
Yes.
And between SB and William Farwell?
Yes.
Was there any correspondence with an individual with saved as the contact name Robert Devine?
Objection. I'm sorry.
Was it?
I withdraw my objection.
Oh, okay.
So, did you ask me screen name?
When their contact name shows up in correspondence, was anybody reflected as Robert Devine?
No.
Did you later?
So I do want to pay attention to that because the defense attorney really does focus on this. She had communications with Matthew Farwell and William Farwell, but apparently there was nothing that said Robert Devine specifically. Let's hear more.
Believe that some of her correspondence was with Robert Devine?
Yes.
And in what form was that correspondence?
Facebook ID, Marty Riggs.
Are you familiar with the name Marty Riggs?
Yes.
And where does it come from?
Lethal Weapon.
Is that a movie?
It is.
Ask that the witness be shown in Exhibit 1. One moment. Can we go to page 38? And do you recognize this information, Chief? It's in the notebook to your left as well.
Yes.
And what is this a discussion of?
This is an excerpt from my investigative report. Describing I met with.
It should be in front of you in the binder if it's easier to read.
This one?
Yeah, page 30.
38.
38 is an interview. I don't know if this is a different page sequence.
Oh, so it should be on the post-Devine closed hearing. So it's in the center of the page is the page number.
Sorry. So it's 44. I got it. 38. Yeah, sorry, where did you want me to begin?
The midway through that first paragraph based on. So are these the reasons why you concluded that Robert Devine is using the alias Marty Riggs?
Well, that and a Cellbrite screenshot that had.
Can I ask that the witness be shown Exhibit 8, 897?
I object to this exhibit. I don't believe it was a download from a Cellbrite. Also, we can see this highlight on this document.
So let me get clear. This is from which exhibit?
Okay, so that's the part where I skipped like almost an hour because again, it was a lot of debate over the exhibit and there were some objections and you can't see any of this stuff on the screen, so you don't know what they're talking about. Again, in my recap, I will mention kind of the details of that so you don't miss out on it. I just didn't think it was worth our time sitting here watching it. And yeah, so I didn't want to waste your guys' time on that. Again, you can go to the trial channel if you want to watch that, or just watch the recap, which will be posted either a day after this is posted or 2 days.
When you were reviewing the evidence in the internal affairs investigation, were you able to access Cellbrite?
Yes.
And were
Objection, Your Honor. We'd like some foundation as to what is Cellbrite, where is it from, what software is used, how it's used.
Oh, I think we all know what Cellbrite is nowadays.
Because as we go through the exhibits, and that's what you've seen from the exhibits, Cellbrite, assuming all these documents are downloaded somewhere, gives multiple images of the same email chain. So if I send a message that says hello, it comes up hello, hello. Again, in certain instances. We'll see it as we go along.
Well, and you'll be able to cross on it, but why don't you give some foundation on Cellbrite itself?
And perhaps it's backup.
may I conduct my direct?
You may, unless you want some more lessons.
No, that's okay. Do you mind explaining what Cellbrite is?
Sure. Cellbrite is an investigative tool for managing cell phone data. It's typically used in drug cases. It's run off of, at the time, it's run off of one exclusive personal computer with a large amount of storage because when you download the data, it'll lock up your computer, it'll freeze things up. It's a tool that it can be used with certain filters, certain search parameters, date ranges, all sorts of things. And it's a very, very complex tool.
And what exactly was that? Now, had that information from Black knowledge been accessed through Cellbrite?
I think it's its own program. I think they're separate.
And is it fair to say that one of the benefits of Cellbrite is that it presents the data in a neater way?
Well,
Yes.
This is an objection.
Well, I didn't finish my question.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
in either way. The question is it leading? And it was leading, so it's objection sustained, even though we know what the answer is.
But what are some of the benefits of Cellbrite?
It manages the information more linear. It gives you different search features. It keeps all of the information really in one place for each data set that you pull. It's easier to use.
If you were to just receive a direct download of someone's cell phone data, would you just be able to open it on any computer?
No.
Are you personally certified as a Cellbrite expert?
No.
Were any of the independent investigators that Stoughton had hired more experienced in Cellbrite than you were?
Yes.
Which investigators?
Sergeant Mike Bates.
Do you know what his background in Cellbrite is?
Yes. He's a forensic computer expert. He's very well versed in Axiom, Blackcase, Cellbrite, all those investigative tools. Ran his own company when he retired from the Mass State Police.
Is that one of the reasons he was hired to help out on this investigation?
Yes.
When you were reviewing the evidence, did you frequently consult with the independent investigators?
I did.
How often?
In the beginning of using Cellbrite, I had Sergeant Bates in every other week. He talked me through a lot of different search type engines on the phone. Lieutenant Fanning is also well versed in it, so he gave me a lot of assistance.
And Lieutenant Fanning was currently active in the state police?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that there was an interview of Mr. Devine during the internal affairs investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who conducted the investigation?
Captain Lindley and Lieutenant Price.
Was there ever a second interview scheduled?
Yes.
Did a second interview ever take place?
No.
And why not?
The Robert Devine had retired.
After he retired, was there any way that you received additional information from Mr. Devine?
Yes.
And how was that?
First class mail.
Uh,
It may have been an email as well.
but why did he send you something?
I had sent a series of written questions because he had indicated in one form or another that of course, he's going to cooperate with the investigation. And the investigation now protracted into whether or not he was being truthful in his initial responses in the first interview. So then I had sent a series of questions by first class mail and I received a response.
Can we go to page 227 in Exhibit 1? Do you recognize this document?
I do.
And what is it? Was this the, why did you send this letter?
He indicated to me in one form or another, again, it could have been an email. I don't remember, but he said, of course, I will cooperate with the investigation. And then he had said, any further correspondence, send it to me by mail. So I did that.
What's contained within this document? At this point, since Mr. Devine was retired, could you order him to participate in the IA?
No.
On this page, can you please read the first question on 219? Or sorry, 227. My apologies. Did Mr. Devine ever respond to these questions?
He did.
Can I ask that we move to, sorry, just one moment. We move to Division Exhibit 1 and I think it is, sorry, Your Honor. 251. And then can you turn the page to, yeah, so it's beginning on 251. Do you recognize this document? It's the next several pages as well.
Yes.
What is this? Now, did Mr. Devine respond to all the questions that you had asked in your letter?
I'd have to review the documents. I'm not 100% on whether or not he answered all those questions that I sent.
Do you remember in substance what his response to the allegations was?
His account got hacked and
was that ever a concern for you here?
no.
Why not? Did you ever reach any conclusions as to those primary questions?
Yes.
And did you believe Mr. Devine to be Marty Riggs?
Yes.
What did you base that conclusion on?
Based it on the data that was in the cell bread. I based it on the context of the conversation that he was having with SB. There was nobody in the department who was in law school, to my recollection at that time, or that had just recently passed the bar, and that was the subject of some of the conversation. There's additional conversation about whether or not she was expecting a child with Matthew Farwell, and the response was something along the lines of, you shouldn't be talking to me about this, you shouldn't be talking to anybody about this.
So that's interesting because a lot of what they say or they mention when tying Devine to this Marty Riggs character, alias or whatever, is unfortunately redacted. But this is one things that's not redacted, which is the fact that in Holmes's knowledge. To his knowledge, nobody else went to law school at that time or had recently taken the bar, but Robert Devine had. And that is the context of some of their conversation. And that's how they tied it to Robert Devine. I also think it's interesting how they mentioned that there was conversation about how she was expecting a child with Matthew Farwell. And then I guess Marty Riggs said, don't talk to me about that, all of that. And so my guess would be that they then realize that that's not Matthew Farwell because they're talking about Matthew Farwell. So it must be somebody other than Matthew Farwell. Also, she has text messages with Matthew Farwell. So why would Matthew Farwell also have an alias? That doesn't really make sense. So that's what we get. That's what we have right now to support this idea that Robert Devine is using or used Marty Riggs as an alias. Unfortunately, we can't hear the rest of it, but I kind of want to break that one down and point it out because it's important.
We go to Exhibit 1 on page. Let's do page 26. Now, beginning about midway through the page, do you see a heading marked findings? On 26 should be the bottom middle page number.
Yes.
So what is this portion of the document we're looking at? Can you go through your findings as to Officer Devine?
Sure.
Wish I could hear it. Wish we could hear it.
Generally, what was the alleged conduct underlying this allegation? Were any of his alleged interactions with SB, did they occur while on duty?
We believe so.
And what makes you believe so?
There was reference to meeting locations, and that was something that SB would do.
Was that within the correspondence of Marty Riggs?
Yes.
And what was the next finding after the incompetence?
The next finding was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Rules and Regs, and that was sustained. He did not.
And is there another finding that you came to in regard to Mr. Devine?
Yes.
And what is that?
Because
where is the Chateau restaurant?
Route 27 in Stoughton, about a quarter mile from the Brockton line.
Would it be within the patrol area of the Stoughton Police Department?
Yes.
Can we go to page?
Something about a restaurant. A location has been mentioned. How that's related to anything, we do not know because of redactions, but something about a restaurant.
Just one moment, my apologies.
I believe I did.
So can we go to page? Okay, can we go to page 172? Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is it? Okay, and can you direct your attention to page 182? So what does that mean? After Mr. Devine became involved in the investigation, do you believe that there was any point at which you had personal bias such that it would exclude you from investigating this case?
Objection. Ask and answer. Fine. Ask and answer. I'll allow it. Go ahead. You said no?
I did, Your Honor.
Nothing break.
Now, It testified
Okay, so now we're going to the cross.
that Mr. Devine retired. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, first all the way back up.
Actually, Mr. So, I'm sorry, but remember the recording issue? So
Sorry.
I know you're not used to it.
You just talked about times that Mr. Devine worked. Where are the timesheets?
They're not included in the case file.
They weren't included in the IA report, right?
Correct.
They're not included in the case file, correct?
Correct.
So you're just operating off of memory what you believe in what his hours were, correct?
No,
You never provided him a copy of the summaries, did you?
they didn't become a part of the case file.
This is interesting because it seems like the defense attorney is trying to call into question whether Robert Devine engaged in sex with Sandra Birchmore while he was on duty, right? If you don't have the timesheets and they're not included in the investigation's report, how do you know Robert Devine did these things while he was on duty, right? Interesting.
So let me go back, sir. Now, you did your investigation of Mrs. Devine, and if I go to 1402, looking for my 1402.
Yes.
And is there a reason why it hasn't been provided in this instance, in this case?
I don't know that it hasn't.
Did you provide it to Post?
I gave Post everything that was in all the case files. I can't tell you sitting here today whether that was included or it's not.
Is it included in your IA report?
It should have been.
With regard to the next page, 1404, what is that? There was one created for Mr. Devine,
There should have been.
has been provided.
I gave counsel everything that I had in my case file.
With regard to page 1405, what is that? Was that provided to counsel?
It should have been.
And how about page 1406? So will you agree with me that when you do an investigation, you have to be unbiased about it?
Of course.
Now, you've had a history with Mr. Devine, have you not, sir?
Sure.
And as part of that history, you had an altercation with his daughter, is that correct?
No.
Well, did you find that his
Did he say altercation with his daughter? That's why he said no. Altercation. Again, audio is kind of bad, so maybe he didn't say altercation. But if he said altercation, like, really? Such aggressive word usage.
8-year-old daughter had been to this police station and wrote words with a crayon on a piece of paper?
Yes, I found a document in there and the chief handled that as a personnel matter
You find a document in where? Where was it found?
in my department mailbox.
It was in your mailbox. Okay, what happened with that?
Okay, so I want to pause there because in my recap of part 1, I mentioned that it's kind of disputed as to where that piece of paper was found. It was said that it was found in Holmes's mailbox. It also was said it was found in a mailbox. And when I say mailbox, I mean, one of those mailboxes that you find in a corporate setting, right? I guess at the police station in this situation. So now we know definitively, or at least according to Holmes, that that piece of paper was found in his mailbox, not just a mailbox.
What happened with the investigation?
I think the chief had one of the lieutenants look into it, and his daughter was not allowed into the building for a certain time period based on what she had put in the letter.
Okay, what did she put in the letter?
Revenge is a meal best served cold. I don't know. It was in crayon. It was children's writing.
So that's a huge change. If you watched the first one, if you watched part one, or you did the recap, you would know that initially it was said that the word revenge was written on the piece of paper. And I texted my parents, and this is in the video, I texted my parents, I said, hey, at the age of 8, did I know what revenge was? Did I know how to spell it? Because like I said in that video, I was a voracious reader. So, I mean, I feel like maybe I would know that, right? And both my parents were like, nah, you definitely didn't. Okay, now this gets even more hard to believe because he's saying, or I guess the whole allegation here, the whole idea is an 8-year-old child wrote in crayons on a piece of paper, revenge is a meal best served cold, not just the word revenge. Are we really going to believe that an 8-year-old could do that? As I said, do we have a literary Einstein in the making right now? I just don't. Revenge is a meal best served cold. They have to know what that saying even means, that saying exists. Whatever. Also, I think it's a dish, not meal, to correct whoever actually wrote that. But this is just next level.
Something like that.
That's a quote from Star Trek, Wrath of Khan, isn't it?
No, it's a quote from Man on Fire.
So
Learn a new thing every day. I didn't know it was a quote from a specific movie. I know the history of that quote, but now I do. Man on Fire. Don't know that movie either, but whatever.
I hate to interrupt your cross-examination, but I don't want to be the only one in the room that doesn't know what Man on Fire is.
It's a Denzel Washington movie, Your Honor. It's pretty good.
What was it?
It's a Denzel Washington movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Now I
A
know.
lot of violence.
I thought it was Gun first.
Didn't see that.
What's also interesting is he says lots of violence. Is that like a little jab there? Like an 8-year-old wouldn't watch a movie like that. Why would an 8-year-old watch a movie that has a lot of violence? And then why would an 8-year-old know that quote then? Again, I didn't even know that quote came from that movie. So like an 8-year-old maybe didn't watch the movie. But again, I digress. An 8-year-old wrote that? Like what? Okay, let's keep going.
you didn't take Mr. Devine's first interview. Because why? What was the reason?
Just to keep it clean. I figured he was going to make an allegation that I had some sort of bias against him.
You have a history with him. You describe your animus, if any, against Mr. Devine?
See, that's interesting. The question he uses the word animus. Loaded question, man.
I mean, I wasn't happy with what materialized with this case. And as a matter of fact, nobody at 26 Rose Street was happy with what happened. But I mean, like I said in the beginning of my testimony, I met him in the academy. We were good friends. We stayed good friends. The job changes your relationship sometimes with the subordinate relationship. Didn't agree with some things that he did. He had made personal lifestyle choices that I choose to not be involved in to keep my life simple. We put safeguards in place to keep any bias out of it.
The personal lifestyle choices are what? Why was that? Why'd you have a problem with that?
I just choose to not associate with people in my life that do that sort of thing because it causes complications.
Gosh, I really wish I know what they said right there, what they bleeped out right there. Because we've already discussed the alleged extramarital affair, the girlfriend on the side in the 2015 incident, but now they're redacting something else, which makes me think there's another thing that made Holmes not want to be friends with Devine. And if so, what is that thing? And then also the defense attorney being like, why would that make you not want to be friends with him? It's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I think we can all choose our own morals here, but whatever.
And when he was coming back to the department after the incident in 2015, were you part of a vote to try to not have him come back?
No.
Was there some sort of vote done in the department about his coming back?
I mean, it may have. I'm not sure. There was later action against the town manager involving his role in the decision he wanted Devine fired. The town manager did not. So the union at one point in time, they voted no confidence in him, the town manager, that is.
Now, you were just talking about, and he actually raised that objection, did he? Says there's a conflict that you have.
I'm sorry, what are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
What,
Are you ready to raise the issue that you have a conflict of interest?
Without a doubt, I'm sure he has.
So you knew that was going to come, right?
Sure.
Okay. So you didn't recuse yourself from the investigation, right?
Nope.
Little of a gotcha there, or an attempt at a gotcha. I do think it's interesting watching this. You can tell that there is tension regarding this entire situation with Holmes, because the way he answers, he's not like yes, no, yes, no. He's just like, sure. You know, you can kind of feel it. I feel it. Do you feel it? I feel it.
Now, you testified that the Monty Riggs file, let's back up. Let's go through.
Sorry, I keep standing. No, you can stand. Just when you're talking, usually near the mic.
I'd like to go to page 14. So when you did the investigation, you had a couple of assistants.
I did. 3.
So that's what we should expect to have in all of these, right?
I didn't hear the last part of your question, sir.
Neither did I.
I did.
And who was that?
The attorney that represents the estate of SB.
An attorney from Marullo provided you the box of documents. Is that correct?
Okay, I just want to clarify that, or I guess reiterate that. He's talking about the attorney for the estate of Sandra Birchmore. The estate filed suit in Sandra Birchmore's case as well, or her estate did.
Yes.
You did an investigation into him as well?
I did not.
Who did the investigation into him?
Clifford and Kenny.
Who's Clifford and Kenny?
A law firm that represents the town of Abington.
So an outside law firm handled.
So I'm wondering if this has to do with Josh Heel, because he said Abington. That is where Josh Heel ended up before he, retired, resigned, did not essentially renew his license to be a police officer or law enforcement in Massachusetts. Don't understand why they're suddenly blanking out his name, though, which then makes me think maybe this is somebody else. I don't know.
The investigation of Mr. Heel?
To the degree that he was the target of it, yes. He was
Okay, I was right. Mr. Heel.
a witness in this case only.
Well, as part of this case, there was DNA tests and everything else done at the kennel where he worked, because he was a dog officer, right?
Right.
So he was a suspect.
He was a witness for us. He was not an employee at the time where he was interviewed. He was compelled by rules and regs of his own department and ordered by his chief to cooperate with the investigation, which he did. And then their chief made an inquiry into whether or not he should have been suitable for employment there, and he ended up leaving that department.
So you were part of investigating the death of it.
No,
And why would you say that?
I had no jurisdiction to do that. As I answered in a previous question, my internal affairs investigation concerned policies, procedures, rules, and regs of members of the department. And any such evidence of a crime would have been referred right back to Lieutenant Fanning.
By the way, do you know what Officer Robert Cohn
Kuhn, K-U-H-N, yes.
went to law school?
He did,
Same Robert, right?
yes.
Where did he work?
He's a detective at the Stoughton Police Department.
Well, earlier you testified you didn't know anybody who else was in law school from the Stoughton Police Department, did you?
At that time, correct.
At that time, you mean 10 minutes ago?
At the time that Officer Robert Devine was in law school, I don't believe anybody else was in law school. Detective Kuhn ended up going as a military veteran on the Gold Star program, and he's a practicing attorney in Plymouth County right now.
He's a practicing attorney in Plymouth County right now?
He is.
He went to law school, right?
Sure.
So there could have been somebody else in Stoughton Police Department with the name of Robert or Bob or Rob or whatever it might be, who was in law school at the same time as Ms. Birch, 2020, right?
Sure, they could have been. If I misspoke, I misspoke. I explained that. My recollection is that there was only one person finishing law school or in law school at that time that had passed the bar, and it was conversation to that context.
So you
Boston accents are really funny to me. Okay. This is interesting. Officer Kuhn, first name Rob, apparently he went to law school. And so what the defense attorney is trying to do right now is say, hey, this might not be Robert Devine. There's another Rob in your department that went to law school. And that context you're referencing, that someone went to law school and they had passed the bar, and that's what you're using to connect to Robert Devine. Maybe it's Officer Kuhn. How do you know it's Robert Devine? And this is interesting. I understand where he's coming from. I really wish we had a better understanding as to when he went to law school, because as Holmes is saying, he essentially is saying he didn't go to law school the same time Robert Devine did. We're looking at these conversations as they're happening. And when those conversations were happening, I guess Robert Devine was going to law school or had recently gone to law school and had recently passed the bar. And maybe Officer Kuhn had gone way before. Now, there is mention of him going through some military program. I don't know what he's referencing. I have not heard that military program or that program in general when it comes to law school. So maybe Kuhn was going at the same time, but it wasn't exactly law school. It was instead some kind of military program that's like law school, but no, I don't know. I wish we had a better understanding of this. I kind of wish the defense attorney maybe had done a little more research on this and could give some dates to try and essentially ask Holmes those questions about those dates. But I guess we'll see. Maybe he'll go into it a little bit more.
could have been incorrect in your statement that there was nobody else in Stoughton Police Department who was a member of the bar going to law school, correct?
Sure.
He's pissed.
Correct?
I don't know. I'm sure that we talked about it.
Page 719. 2/3 of the way down.
Maybe I can look into Officer Kuhn and figure out when he went to law school.
Now, is it important when you're drafting an internal affairs report to include information that is both harmful and helpful as a neutral party?
Yes.
Is it important to keep the entire file together so the person coming in behind you gets the opportunity to see that file?
Yes.
For this conversation, may the witness be briefly excused?
Yes. Would you step out for a moment, please?
Yes. How long do I have?
Long enough.
So I turned the information over that the post commission had, similarly to with McNamara's cross-examination. They said that a transcript exists and it wasn't in the discovery. That means we didn't receive it from Stoughton.
That's what I thought.
There are many transcripts, Judge, that we didn't receive. I was going to go through them all because they might all be exculpatory, and we never received them.
Well, it's not for lack of, I'm confident it's not for lack of the division not providing them to you, but the question is, did they end up post somehow? And I don't know, presumably everything post got, they got from you.
You're saying verbatim?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. I've been at post since the beginning of this case. I reviewed files several times before compiling discovery, and I 99.99% sure, as sure as I can be, that all the materials were disclosed to Mr. Stowe. And I
0.01, I should be worried.
Spicy. So I don't know if you caught that, but he was essentially saying, I'm 99.9% sure, as sure as I can be. And then the defense attorney was like, do we need to be worried about that 0.01%? Or maybe we need to be worried about that 0.01%, something like that, which is just like, I don't think it's very professional. In the hour-long segment I pulled out where they kind of really debated about the exhibit and what's being included, and a big part of it was whether the defense attorney received specific information that the division's attorney was trying to bring forth. And he's just gotten relatively antagonistic about a lot of this. Personally, not a big fan of that. We see it as this hearing continues.
I would be worried about that 0.01. I don't think you can be worried. I double checked discovery. Like I said, I represented this back in March of last year. I believe that Mr. Stowe has the entire case file that Post is in possession of.
And you would agree, as far as you're concerned, that, for example, it doesn't include the transcript of her interview.
Correct. The only written transcripts we have are the HEAL ones that were included.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would seem also to be true, because we're having this discussion with the documents that are part of the waivers, et cetera, for the IA policy.
Yes,
I haven't seen completed documents.
I have not seen it, no.
And if I may, Judge, Mr. Devine hasn't even seen his own transcript. That's not here.
Well, that's not included in the report either, right?
He discusses it in the report.
But
We haven't gotten there yet, but he discusses it.
but the document itself.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not included. You haven't seen it.
Yeah. That as well. That's all, something I'm going to have to consider as I go along. I will, however, so that we can be complete, make an inquiry of the commission about what they received from the division, so I can confirm that somehow in the process they didn't get something that we now think they didn't get. You know, that like these transcripts or something like that. So I will do that. I want to be satisfied that they never got, you know, they don't have it. We don't have it. Post doesn't have it either. So I will look at that. I think I have the right to do that. And I will make that inquiry. But it's not part of any file I've seen. I haven't been presented with that submission. I usually am not, because I wait to see what evidence is introduced in the adjudicated hearing. Right. But I certainly will follow up on that.
Thank you.
So it's my understanding that they're referencing the transcript of the interviews that were conducted during the investigation. Those transcripts, and I think this might come out a little bit later, more details on this, but the transcripts in full, whether it was the video footage or whether it was written, was not provided in the internal investigation report, nor does it seem anyone in this room right now has access to the transcripts. So they're going to look into that.
Should we bring him back when he's back? While we're waiting, about how long do you think you'll be with him from now?
I'll be a while, Judge. There's a lot to get through.
It's a while.
So, not mention Mr. Devine at all. Is that correct, sir?
Not to my recollection.
Next witness, Juliet Evan Curley, age 45. Ms. Curlin had contact. Nothing going on. Do you know if there was a transcript of that interview?
She never actually got interviewed. I did, Your Honor, and if I...
That's it. I just want to know if you wrote that. Thank you.
I did, yes.
And you testified earlier that Mrs. Devine made statements to you in that interview that he thought his computer was hacked. Is that your testimony?
Testimony was that I didn't interview him. He was interviewed by Captain Lilly, and that there were statements that he made during that first interview that we characterized as untruthful.
And you said that he presented an issue that his computer had been hacked, his account had been hacked, correct?
I know that he's made that overture in the past. I'm not sure if that's what came up in the first interview.
Where's his interview transcript from his first interview?
I provided it to Post.
Say it again.
I provided the transcripts to Post. I gave everything to Post.
Mr. Devine, would it surprise you to learn that Mr. Devine said that he didn't have an account during that interview?
No.
Okay. So that's a lot different than my account got hacked versus I didn't have an account. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So that's interesting. Again, we don't know how my account got hacked / I don't have an account, what that's referencing exactly. I can't confidently say what it's referencing because so much is redacted. I can say with slight confidence, speculation, that it has to do with the Marty Riggs Facebook situation. Maybe that his account got hacked, but now we're talking that he doesn't even have a Facebook account. I don't know. Interesting. Something to note.
For clarity, there are transcripts, and the transcripts are made because they're recordings, and they're made from recordings. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where are the recordings?
They would have been preserved on a thumb drive and included. I think that they're a labeled exhibit in my case file.
So I'm sorry, in the what?
In my case file.
And are you saying that's also part of what was presented to Post? The recordings themselves?
Yes, sir. Post has everything that I had in my case file.
So both the actual recording and the transcript of the recording.
Yes.
For each of these witnesses we've talked about that actually were interviewed.
Yes, Your Honor. I saved every recording and redundantly had them transcribed.
Redundantly. Well,
And you testify that he denied having any contact with SG, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Page 47, middle of the page.
Sure, that's accurate.
Yep, that's accurate.
Yes.
So your testimony earlier that he claimed he had no contact with her is actually incorrect. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
You did.
So your testimony that there was no contact is contradicted by the statements you wrote on page 47, correct?
Objection. Asked and answered.
No, overruled. You can answer.
Yes.
Okay. It's not attached to this exhibit, sir.
So it seems like the defense attorney is essentially doing what's called like impeaching the witness here, being like, okay, you're saying contradictory things, essentially calling into question the credibility of the witness, in this case, Holmes, calling into question Holmes's credibility. You are making, contradictory statements. Obviously, how are we supposed to trust what you're saying? How are we supposed to trust your memory, your judgment, the things you're saying, the way you're answering these questions, if you're contradicting yourself?
What is
A whole separate binder.
Whole separate binder.
Yes.
Well, just so I understand, when you have a designation T3, what does that refer to particularly?
Your Honor, I had two binders. One was the case file and a whole bunch of evidence. The second one was all transcriptions. They were both about that thick.
So that would be the third transcript in that binder.
There's two series, so anything labeled S was a state police report or transcription of anything that they did, and then anything that I did for interviews, it was labeled as a T transcription. So that would have been, T3 would have been just where it fell in the order.
You say that also would have been provided to counsel and to the commission.
Yes.
The next person,
Just to clear, so I make sure I have the whole picture, as well as the recording itself.
Yes.
So where are these transcripts, right? If Holmes is saying that, everything, that the transcripts are in the case file and the case file has been given to post and to counsel, why doesn't the defense attorney have these? Why does post act like it sounds like post has never seen these either. I'm not hearing anything from the division's attorney. I don't know if he saw them. But I'm just wondering, where are these transcripts? How did they get lost along the way?
what is on the spectrum?
A reference to anything on autism spectrum disorder.
Okay. It has,
What? Like what is that even? Maybe it's referencing a text message or something. I have no idea.
who's a DARE officer? What's a DARE officer, sir?
Drug abuse resistance education program started by First Lady Nancy Reagan.
Dare. Oh,
It was federally funded.
I remember Dare.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, throughout your investigation, you've never come across anyone who has told you they saw Mr. Devine with SD, correct?
That sounds accurate.
So you have no phone calls for Mr. Devine to SD, correct?
Interesting how he answered that.
Spectrum is anything on the autism spectrum disorder. Asperger's, autism, any of those things.
Why are they talking to us?
At that time, there were a few people named Rob in the department, right?
Rob.
Sure, that's at least one that I can think of.
Rob Coons, Rob Dentry, Robert Coon, right?
Lieutenant didn't go by Rob ever, but Rob Coon, of course.
Different people call different things by different people, don't they, sir?
I don't know a single person that ever referred to Lieutenant as anybody but Emmett.
Now, sir, the next,
Arguing about how someone's called us.
do you know that?
I don't think I ever saw a record that he was working a midnight shift.
Right. He didn't work midnight shifts.
So that's interesting. These look like text messages or exchanges. Maybe it's Facebook or something. And again, we're questioning, or we're calling into question time sheets or when somebody was working, and essentially saying he doesn't work at midnight. Okay, that leads me to wonder, what are in those messages and why does midnight matter? Did Sandra meet someone at midnight and that was on duty at midnight, but Robert Devine's never on duty on midnight? I don't know. Like that. What is going on here? It drives me nuts not being able to see this stuff.
Your Honor, we're getting to the point now that Mr. Stowe can read whatever text messages he wants that are in evidence during his closing, but I feel like we need some more substantive questions here. He's been reading the report, reading the text.
Well, either way, he has to have questions.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just reading, occasionally ask him, am I right?
I'm reading it, Judge, because this all leads up to a claimed sexual event with.
No, I get where it's going, but
Then it changes. And that's why they didn't introduce it, because they realized that SB lied about relationships. So that's my own problem. So
what I'm requiring is that there be some question and answer, as opposed to us sitting here listening to you read to all of us.
now there's a change in the tone.
Wait a second. Do you understand what I've said now 3 times in a row? This is questions and answers. I didn't say it's not relevant. I'm telling you, though, that in a evidentiary hearing, there must be questions and answers, not you simply reading this.
And at the top of page 502,
Judge gets annoyed.
Objection, Your Honor. We're again just reading the text messages here.
Well, but I understand it's a predicate to an inquiry, and I'm going to allow him to do it as long as he's doing a question and answer form. I'm going to do it up to the point it is obvious it has no probative value, and so far, I can see the probative value. So
I really like how the judge is conducting this because, he might show a little annoyance in relation to the defense attorney. Nonetheless, you don't see bias here. He is still giving the defense attorney the time necessary to, ask his questions and all of that, he's not essentially pushing the defense attorney along just because he's starting to not like the defense attorney, right? I appreciate that. I like that.
did I read that correct?
Yes.
Who's Jenkins?
Safe to assume it's former Sergeant Dean Jenkins, who's no longer with the department.
Dean Jenkins. I'm writing that one down.
So, did you investigate Officer Jenkins for having sex with her?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do it because of this exchange?
I don't remember why. His name was mentioned. I don't remember if I read it. I don't remember if somebody told it to me. I did several.
I'll mention this in the recap if I find anything on this officer, Dean Jenkins.
how much longer on this topic do you think you have?
I think with this topic, when we have a change in the story, I think this is getting close. It just gets into how she got to this house, which is
Time-wise, I'm trying to ask.
I guess 5 minutes for a change of topic.
If we're going to shut it down then for today, because I need a few minutes with you folks after we postpone till tomorrow. Recess till tomorrow.
Your Honor, I have a couple scheduled conflicts. I don't know if we can work that out with Mr. Sean Martinez.
Why don't you just answer this question quickly? Did you look at the last couple of pages?
I did. The answer is it looks like the same discussion thread.
Okay.
So the same person is being discussed as this person, Rob.
It appears so.
So let's do this. Remember where you are. Since obviously you're not, well, based on what you said so far, it's apparent that when you finish with this line of questioning, you have more areas of questioning for this witness.
Yes.
Give me a clue about how much time you think that will take.
A couple hours.
A couple of hours?
Yeah, or perhaps hours, yes.
Well, if it's for the benefit of reading through all these, we need to talk about that. There's another way of doing that. These documents are evidence. I certainly can read them at will. It's my responsibility. Not that I'm looking forward to it, promise you, but I'm, so we have to talk about that. But Chief, what's your schedule issues tomorrow?
I'm at executive training all week. I actually, to accommodate post, I decided to forego one day of training. Tomorrow, the last day.
It's a full day of training.
It ends at about 1:30.
And where is, just so I have a sense of?
Cambridge.
In Cambridge.
Yes.
Can you come here directly when it ends?
I can.
We'll probably interrupt this. What else do we have scheduled for tomorrow?
I believe only Mr. Devine's witnesses.
You're putting on Mr. Devine?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh.
I'm putting on this.
Do you have other witnesses as well?
I subpoenaed 2 other witnesses. I don't know. I haven't heard back from them. I have the phone numbers.
Just remind me who you're talking about. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to excuse you to 1:30. Getting here from Cambridge at that time of day shouldn't be terrible. It's never good from Cambridge to Boston.
But thanks for the accommodation, Your Honor.
And we'll do what we can accomplish tomorrow. I want to have a conversation about that now. So I'm going to excuse you now, Chief. Obviously, you're subject to protective orders. Please remember that. Don't discuss your testimony with anybody.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to see more from Brian Holmes on a different day. The defense attorney allegedly has another couple hours.
All right. Before we get anywhere else, I'm a bit concerned and intend to follow up on the whole issue of the missing recordings, transcripts, etc., and we'll determine whether that which was received by the commission originally, contains any of that material at all. I think it needs to be, even beyond the context of this hearing, it needs to be determined for obvious reasons, at least to me, obvious. But it also struck me that nobody has listed, and I can understand in the context of the nature of this proceeding, but nobody has sought to secure the testimony of these freeze. So in some sense, I can see why it's unnecessary in the division's context to given they have the report, et cetera, in an effort to prove their case. I can understand that. But given the developments regarding the record in this case and having to determine ultimately the credibility of the evidence that's been presented to me, the question is whether they ought to be in this room, whether we ought to make a record of whether they in fact recorded interviews with these folks, whether they had transcripts prepared. I'm not saying it's convenient for him, but he's presumably relying on what he's told by these other investigators. And the contents of many of these interviews on which this fellow made a determination, and the investigative thing relied entirely on his fellow investigators, is an issue. The credibility of it is an issue. So I just want your reactions. I'm going to start with the division.
And this makes sense that he would be concerned about this and that he is checking the credibility because, we have these missing transcripts. Holmes, he came to a conclusion when it comes to, Robert Devine or certain individuals, yet he doesn't necessarily have the testimony, or maybe he did, but he didn't give the interviews. So from the judge's perspective, it's like, okay, so I'm listening to what Holmes is saying here, but he didn't give the interviews and I don't have access to the transcripts. So how do I check the credibility of Holmes's conclusions or Holmes's answers to these questions if I don't have access to where he was drawing his conclusion from? I just have to trust Holmes the way he's speaking right now without access to the transcripts, without understanding exactly how he came to that conclusion. I understand why he wants to figure out what's going on.
About the notion of having, particularly, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is that right? Actually, I'm saying a good yes, and I know you know.
And I'm wondering also, because a lot of names are being redacted here, if, we're seeing if they are talking about certain individuals that are being redacted, but they're like, okay, we need to look at the transcripts of these interviews, right? We need to look more at what these individuals were saying rather than just taking people's words for what they're saying, right? Go to the direct source here since we're talking about these individuals.
They turn out that.
Well, they don't know. we know. But what do you think about that?
So if the reason that these investigators are being called is to speak about the interviews, I do think that requesting specifically the written and audio transcripts would be a more effective way of doing so.
Well, it kind of answers the whole question if they exist. Oh, I mean, if these folks have these sitting somewhere,
right?
I want to see them.
Yes, I wonder.
They're entitled to see them,
Yes,
and they're going to argue, wait a second, we should have had these a year ago.
I will say, that, first of all, the other side also did have subpoena power throughout this entire proceeding. But second, I do think a subpoena to Stoughton may be more effective than calling in. If that's
Well, I didn't ask, and nobody asked whether he sent this on but preserved copies at the department, which was.
I also want to point out, I just find this interesting. It's not just the defense attorney that didn't have access to these transcripts, it's also the division's attorney, yet the division's attorney did not at all go looking for these transcripts, right? Doesn't seem like the defense attorney did either until now. I don't know. I mean, like the division said, you know, the defense attorney has the power to subpoena as well. Why is this coming up now? Like, my question is, why didn't either of these attorneys ahead of time be like, hey, maybe we should look into this? This might show, I mean, it's going to show an obvious bias on the division's end. I mean, they're obviously biased. They want to decertify Robert Devine, but it's always good to dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and be like, hey, maybe we should look into these transcripts to make sure that this report is credible before we move forward with this. Obviously, it's very obvious that the defense attorney would have an incentive or a motive to also want to look into the transcripts. Find it interesting it's coming up now. I don't know.
You know, when I was still trying cases, I would have remembered to ask that question. But you get lazy as a judge; you don't have to ask those questions. Well, but I'm serious. I didn't ask that question because the impression I was getting was we shipped it all out to them, and we don't have this stuff anymore. That's sort of the way I was hearing it, but that may not be what they would say ultimately. But I, one way or the other, I'd like to find that out. And it may mean that we have to go through that process before we ultimately conclude this hearing. How do you feel about it?
That makes sense.
All right. We have one scheduling problem. See, he's not the only one. I'm gone from Sunday till the 19th of the month, and I'll be overseas. So unless you all want to join me in London, there's not much I can do about that. We'll just have to reconvene after that if there's more evidence that needs to be taken. I don't know how, we're here at 5 o'clock. I don't know how quickly they're going to respond to a subpoena looking for documents buried in their, if they exist, buried in their files. I am making an inquiry through my colleagues here about what the commission received to make my own sort of internal investigation regarding that to see if there were recordings or transcripts that were received. But it's important to me in terms of the integrity of the process, number one, but in terms of Mr. Devine's case, it's also important because it's based on this information that he's purportedly getting from investigators that shapes the conclusions that he makes about Mr. Devine's credibility and the strength of the evidence against him. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't make this inquiry. So I'm happy, since I don't think we get to them under any circumstances tomorrow, to put it on you, Ms. Martinez, to, in the first instance, approach it by way of a subpoena. I'm okay with that. But if you get and press for a quick response, and, this isn't looking in the files of the FBI, it's just Stoughton's Police Department. And secondly, if it doesn't exist, to consider at a minimum, as I look at who seems to be doing more of these interviews, I mean, they're both doing it, but I would say if they don't have him, we ought to be subpoenaing him to appear in this proceeding, unless somebody persuades me otherwise. So what we'll do is we'll interrupt the cross of Chief here, and it would be your intention then, and after his testimony, you'd be resting.
But barring the receipt of the transcript, that we continue the hearing for that reason.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And certainly I allow you to reopen on if that new evidence came in unanticipated. So would you be prepared to put Mr. Devine and anybody else shows up in the morning?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it.
Sorry, just to be clear, that's prior to us closing our case. That's okay.
Yeah, that's a question.
That's the question, yeah.
But your case is really your cross. I mean, the balance of their case is principally your cross. There may be some redirect. I understand that. So, and you know, these, if this were a criminal proceeding, for instance, I might have one reaction to it. I'd have to understand from you why you think your client would be prejudiced if I had you go forward, even though the cross wasn't completed.
Right.
Are you, so you want to think about that?
I think I'd rather finish the cross.
Well, it's the rather, and that as opposed to the entitlement to or the need to. I understand. I'm not, your point is well taken. I'm sure if I were sitting in your shoes, I'd be saying the same thing. But I just,
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, sure.
If I don't anticipate crossing the two subpoena witnesses very much in the morning. If we could do those two witnesses and hold off on Mr. Devine's testimony until after the cross of Holmes, and after the receipt of the transcripts, maybe that would be.
Are you okay with that? Putting out if those two folks show up?
Yeah, put the one first, yes.
Yeah. Again, who are they? You said that. Are those two the people that were interviewed as part of?
They actually had affidavits contained within Mr. Devine's responses.
Okay. Oh, all right. All right. I'm all right with that. That makes good sense. All right, we'll do that first thing. You're direct on them. How long do you think that might be?
Oh, half an hour with them, maybe. Half an hour, 15 minutes with you.
You don't consider the cross to be extensive?
I don't anticipate so unless information outside of the affidavits comes through, but it doesn't seem like there's too much that I can question.
Okay, so I'm just thinking of the timing of it. I don't want people to have to be sitting around unnecessarily. But I want to make sure they're completed by 1:30. Well, you know, he gets done at 1:30.
We probably wouldn't actually start at 1:30.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Because it's closed.
Just right.
So if we get lucky, he's here too.
Yes.
Right.
He did get here very quickly this morning. It was like 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes.
And my guess is he's motivated to get this done. So let's just a wild and crazy guess. All right. Let's. Well, how about we start 10:30 tomorrow? Does that work for everybody? Is that all right?
Yes.
10:30 here. That sounds tomorrow. That'll assure us, I think, the ability to get completed with those two witnesses, be ready for this witness's balance of this cross, and we'll take it from there.
And Your Honor, may I speak with Chief McNamara? I don't anticipate recalling her on rebuttal or anything, but to coordinate the transcripts.
The issue of the transcript.
Yes.
Yeah, I would prefer you do that. Before they get a subpoena, they should be looking.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to her. Yes, I'll reach out to her immediately.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Anything else anybody wants to bring up this time?
No, Your Honor.
See you tomorrow morning.
Okay, the end of part 2. Let's review my notes real quick. And I guess I'll maybe do some quick summaries. But again, the recap is going to go into kind of the more details of this. But, you know, we have discussion of Robert Devine getting cozy with an explorer other than Sandra Birchmore. We have some discussion about Brian Holmes essentially saying that, their social relationship ended prior to the 2015 investigation and incident. Some discussion about Marty Riggs and how Marty Riggs is connected to Robert Devine. Really, the only thing we hear from from evidence in support of the idea that Robert Devine is Marty Riggs, or that Marty Riggs is Robert Devine, is the law school argument. And the defense is really trying to point out that maybe Marty Riggs is another individual at the Stoughton Police Department with the name of Rob, which is it's an interesting argument. I'll say he's lucky there are a lot of Robs at that department for some weird reason. But there was another Rob who potentially went to law school around the same time and became a lawyer. So maybe he will successfully be able to make that argument, which is also interesting. Of course, maybe it is the other Rob, right? Who knows? There were mention of two other officers, Joshua Heel and Officer Jenkins, that were investigated in relation to Sandra Birchmore. I'm going to do some more research on that. I'll get that to you guys in the part 2 recap. And then there's a lot of discussion about the transcripts and the fact that they didn't have access to the transcripts, how that maybe affected the credibility of some of the things that were being discussed in this hearing. So that's what we have for now. Again, I would check in with the recap. I'll be posting it the day after this video drops. I'll go into more depth of what we found in this hearing, kind of the major headline hitters, the major hitters, all of that kind of stuff. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Not sure when this video is going to go out. Honestly, I don't know how to end any of my videos. And honestly, most people probably don't watch to the end of the video. So if you did watch to the end of the video, comment with a camera emoji. And I say that because there's a camera in front of me. And if you're a member and you made it to the end of this video, you should comment with one of the member exclusive emojis, because I think I gave you guys 5 different emojis to use as members. Comment with one of them because I kind of want to see them. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.